A human hunter's wild night ends with a mysterious alien slave and a galactic conspiracy. Jack Callahan woke to a headache that felt like a swarm of nanobots drilling through his skull. He groaned, rolling onto his side on the lumpy mattress in his rented bunk on Starhaven, a lawless space station floating on the edge of the Orion belt. The sterile white ceiling swam into focus, its harsh fluorescent glow stabbing his eyes. Memories of last night crashed over him like a poorly edited holovid. Too many drinks, too much noise, and that damned Zykarian smuggler Varkis, toasting him like they were old pals. Son of a bitch, Jack muttered, pressing a palm to his throbbing temple. He'd pulled Varkis's scaly hide out of a botched drug deal with Klythian pirates, and the bastard had insisted on celebrating. Whatever alien liquor Varkis poured down his throat was still torching his insides. He squinted, trying to piece together the night. The bar had been a neon-soaked dive, all chrome and recycled air, with a jukebox blaring Metallica knockoffs. Varkis, his scales shimmering green with glee, had kept the drinks coming. Jack's last clear memory was stumbling back to his bunk, alone. Or so he thought. As his vision cleared, a shadow in the corner of the room caught his eye. A figure, still as a statue, standing against the wall. Jack's bounty hunter instincts kicked in. Hangover be damned, his hands slid under the pillow, fingers closing around the grip of his trusty dagger. He bolted upright, ignoring the spike of pain in his head. "Who the hell are you?" he growled, voice rough as gravel. The figure stepped forward, hesitant, into the dim light. She wasn't human. Her skin gleamed like molten steel, etched with glowing blue veins that pulsed faintly across her arms and neck. Long black hair, tied with a metallic cord, cascaded past her waist. She wore a tattered combat suit, its dark fabric torn but clinging to a frame that was equal parts lethal and graceful. Her eyes, electric green, like plasma flames, stayed fixed on the floor. Around her neck, a sleek energy collar hummed softly, its red light blinking in rhythm with her shallow breaths. "Varkis sent me," she whispered, her voice low but steady, carrying a strength she seemed to suppress. "I am your reward." Jack's jaw dropped, the dagger forgotten in his hand. "My what?" "Your reward," she repeated, barely audible, "for saving his life." He blinked, trying to process the words through the fog in his head. Starhaven was a cesspool where anything, drugs, tech, even people, could be bought or sold. But this was a new low, even for Varkis. Jack swung his legs off the bed, standing in his worn cargo pants and a faded black tee. At 6'2", he towered over her, his frame lean but corded with muscle from years of chasing bounties. He ran a hand through his dark, messy hair, staring at the alien woman. "Look at me," he said, softer now, stepping closer. She hesitated, then raised her eyes. Those plasma-green irises held fear, but also a spark of defiance that hit him like a punch. "What's your name?" "Sylvara," she said, as if surprised by the question. "Sylvara," he echoed, testing the word. "And Varkis gave you to me?" She nodded, a tiny, almost imperceptible motion. Jack's stomach churned. He'd seen a lot in his 32 years. Pirates, slavers, rogue AIs. But the idea of owning a person made his skin crawl. "Listen," he said, locking eyes with her. "Where I come from, people aren't property. I don't own you." Confusion flickered across her face, her glowing veins pulsing faster. But Varkis said, "Screw Varkis," Jack snapped, then caught himself. He took a breath, softening his tone. "You're not a thing, Sylvara. You're a person." Her eyes widened, and for a moment, she seemed to struggle with the concept. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "If you reject me, Varkis will have me killed. I am defective merchandise." Jack froze, his hangover roaring back with a vengeance. "Defective? What the hell does that mean?" Sylvara's gaze dropped again, her fingers brushing the energy collar. "My body carries a secret, one that makes me valuable and dangerous." Jack's grip tightened on the dagger. What kind of game is Varkis playing? Jack Callahan's head was still pounding, but Sylvara's words, valuable and dangerous, lit a fire under him. He paced the cramped bunk on Starhaven, the energy collar now discarded on the floor, its red light flickering out like a dying star. Sylvara stood near the wall, her plasma green eyes tracking his every move. The air between them crackled with tension, not just from her cryptic warning, but from the sheer wrongness of her being here, a person reduced to a reward. Jack wasn't a saint, but he'd be damned if he let Varkis play him like a pawn. In some interstellar slave game. "We're getting you out of here," he said, stopping to face her. "The human coalition's got outposts in Alliance space. Slavery's illegal there. You'll be safe." Sylvara's glowing veins pulsed faster, her expression a mix of hope and doubt. "Varkis has eyes everywhere. Leaving Starhaven won't be easy." "Then we move fast," Jack replied, grabbing his leather jacket from a chair. He pulled up his wristcom, a beat-up model that had seen better days, and punched in a secure channel. "Lila, you out there?" "It's Jack. I need a ride. Pronto." A crackle, then a woman's voice, sharp and laced with the sarcasm, came through. "Jack Callahan, in trouble again? What's it this time? Pirates or just your shitty taste in bars?" Leela Torres, ex-smuggler turned freelance pilot, was the only person Jack trusted in this corner of the galaxy. "Something worse," he said, glancing at Sylvara. "I've got company, and a Zykarian asshole breathing down my neck. Can you get the Iron Raven to Starhaven?" Lila snorted. "For you? Maybe. But it'll cost you, and I've got my own mess to clean up. My brother Marco's gone missing, tied to some deal with your pal Varkis. Help me find him and we've got a deal." Jack cursed under his breath. "Another complication. Fine. Dock at Bay, 12, midnight. We'll be there." He cut the call and turned to Sylvara. "Pack light. We're leaving now." She nodded, her movements precise, like a soldier prepping for a mission. Jack couldn't shake the feeling she was more than she seemed. Those glowing veins. That talk of a secret. He'd get answers later. For now, survival came first. They slipped out of the bunk into Starhaven's underbelly. A maze of flickering, neon signs and rusted corridors. The air smelled of ozone and cheap synth foo. Jack led the way, his dagger tucked in his belt, senses on high alert. Sylvara followed, her torn combat suit blending into the shadows. They were halfway to the commercial sector when a low hum stopped Jack cold. He grabbed Sylvara's arm, pulling her behind a stack of cargo crates. "What is it?" she whispered, her eyes narrowing. "Trouble," Jack muttered. From the shadows, a Klythian assassin emerged, 8 feet of writhing tentacles, each tipped with a plasma blade. Its eye stalks swiveled, locking onto them. Jack's heart raced. Klythians didn't mess around, and this one was armed to the teeth. "Stay back," he hissed, drawing his dagger. But before he could move, Sylvara stepped forward, her body glowing with an eerie blue light. The veins on her arms flared, and, in a blur, she was on the assassin. Her hands moved like liquid lightning, conjuring shimmering blades of energy from thin air. She sliced through one tentacle, then another, dodging a plasma strike with inhuman grace. The Klythian roared, but Sylvara was relentless, pinning it to the ground with a final, precise strike that severed its weapon arm. The whole fight lasted 10 seconds. Jack stood there, mouth open. "Holy shit. You're like Rambo, but with glow sticks." Sylvara straightened, her glow fading, but her breathing was heavy. "I was trained to fight, but my power, it's unstable. If I push too far, it could kill us both." Jack stared at the downed Klythian, then at her. "Unstable how?" She met his gaze, her voice low. "The nano-tech in my blood. It's a weapon, Jack, and someone out there wants it bad." A distant clatter echoed down the corridor. Footsteps, more were coming. Who the hell sent that thing? And what's this nano-tech worth dying for? Jack Callahan's boots echoed on the grimy metal floor as he and Sylvara docked through the slums of Starhaven, a labyrinth of flickering neon and rusted stalls that reeked of burnt circuits and desperation. The Klythian assassin's attack had left his nerves on edge, and Sylvara's cryptic warning about her nanotech being a weapon buzzed in his head like a bad song on repeat. Who wants her bad enough to send a tentacle for? He kept his dagger close, eyes scanning the shadows. Sylvara moved beside him, her torn combat suit blending into the chaos. But those glowing blue veins on her skin drew curious glances from passing traders, human, Zykarian, and worse. They slipped into a dive bar masquerading as a diner, its neon sign buzzing grub and grog in half-broken letters. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and the twang of a jukebox pumping out a knockoff of Sweet Child O' Mine. Jack nodded to a corner booth. Its vinyl seats cracked like old leather. "Sit tight," he said, sliding in across from Sylvara. "We've got a few hours before Leela's ship hits Bay 12. Let's lay low." Sylvara hesitated, her plasma green eyes scanning the room like a predator sizing up threats. She sat, her posture rigid as if expecting a fight. Jack flagged down a servo droid, its chassis dented and wheezing. 2 synth burgers, extra grease, and coffee, black, none of that alien crap. The droid whirred off, and Jack leaned forward, studying Sylvara. "You okay? That stunt with the Klythian was intense." "I'm trained to survive," she said softly, her voice carrying a weight that made Jack's chest tighten. "But I haven't fought like that in cycles, not since Elythia." "Elythia?" Jack raised an eyebrow, leaning back as the droid dropped off their food. The burgers looked like rubber, but he pushed one toward her. "Your homeworld, right? What happened there?" Sylvara stared at the burger, then picked it up, mimicking Jack's grip. She took a cautious bite, her face scrunching in disgust. "This is food?" Jack chuckled, the sound easing the tension in his shoulders. "Welcome to Starhaven cuisine. Now spill. What's the deal with Elythia?" She set the burger down, her glowing veins dimming slightly. Elythia was a beacon of light, a world of crystal spires and endless skies. My people, the Astra, were warriors and scholars. But we grew arrogant. We built a superweapon, powered by nano-tech like mine, meant to protect us. Instead, it tore our planet apart. The survivors, me, a few others, were hunted, enslaved. Our blood became a prize for those who crave power. Jack's jaw tightened. He'd seen war, lost people. His dad, a coalition engineer, blown to bits in a Klythian raid. But Sylvara's story hit different. "That's rough," he said, voice low. "How'd you end up with Varkis?" "Auction," she said flatly. "I was a gladiator, then a gift when I became unstable." Her fingers traced the veins on her arm, glowing faintly. "This nanotech can destroy armies. Or me, if I lose control." Jack took a sip of coffee, bitter as regret. He wanted to press her for details, but the pain in her eyes stopped him. "My old man used to say, keep moving, or the galaxy chews you up. I'm a bounty hunter because I'm too stubborn to quit. You? What keeps you going?" Sylvara met his gaze, a spark of defiance in her green eyes. "Hope. That one day I'll be more than a weapon." She paused, her voice softening. "You make me believe that's possible, Jack." His heart skipped, caught off guard by the warmth in her words. Their hands brushed on the table, her skin, cool but electric. For a moment, the din of the bar faded and it was just them. Then Jack's wristcom beeped, snapping him back. He glanced around, instincts flaring. A Zykarian in a hooded cloak lingered near the bar, its scales glinting under the neon. "Not good. We got a tail," Jack whispered, his hands sliding to his dagger. "Stay sharp, someone's watching us. Who's this creep, and how much does he know about Sylvara's nanotech?" Jack Callahan's pulse quickened as he locked eyes with the Zykarian in the hooded cloak, its scales catching the neon glow of the Grub and Grog diner. Varkis's goon? Or just some creep with bad timing? He tightened his grip on the dagger under the table, ready to move, but Sylvara's cool hand brushed his wrist, her plasma green eyes steady. "Not here," she whispered. "Too many witnesses." Jack nodded, forcing himself to relax. She was right. Starting a brawl in a packed dive bar would only draw more heat. They had to get to Lila's ship, the Iron Raven, before Varkis's. Net tightened. "Time to roll," Jack muttered, tossing a few credits on the table. He led Sylvara out the back exit, the jukebox's wail fading into the hum of Starhaven's slums. The corridors twisted like a drunk architect's fever dream, lined with flickering holoads and vendors hawking everything from bootleg tech to glow-in-the-dark street meat. Jack's wristcom pinged. "Lila's signal. She's early. Bay 12. 10 minutes. Move." They hustled through the crowd, Sylvara's glowing veins dimmed to avoid attention. Jack couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on them, but no Zykarian followed, at least not that he could see. They reached Bay 12, a cavernous docking platform, buzzing with drones and the screech of plasma welders. There, parked like a beat-up warhorse, was the Iron Raven, a patched-together freighter with a hull scarred from 100 close calls. Standing at the loading ramp was Lila Torres, all 5'6" of her radiating "don't mess with me" energy. Her short black hair was tucked under a pilot's cap, and her leather jacket was as worn as Jack's. "Well, damn, Callahan," Lila said, smirking as she punched his shoulder. "You look like you got run over by a hover truck. Who's your friend?" Her dark eyes flicked to Sylvara, sharp and assessing. "Sylvara," Jack said, nodding to the Elythian. "She's with me." "Sylvara, meet Lila Torres, best pilot this side of the Orion Belt, and a royal pain in my ass." Sylvara inclined her head, her voice soft but firm. "I am grateful for your aid." Lila raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued by Sylvara's glowing veins. "Yeah, well, don't thank me yet. This ride ain't free." She led them up the ramp, into the Iron Raven's cargo hold, a cluttered maze of crates, spare parts, and jury-rigged tech. The ship smelled of oil and ozone, with a faint hum of engines warming up. Lila crossed her arms. "Here's the deal, Jack. My brother Marco's been missing for weeks, snatched in a deal tied to your pal Varkis. You help me track him down, and I'll get you and Glowstick here to Coalition space. Deal?" Jack sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Deal. But we've got heat on our tail. Varkis isn't thrilled on walking away with his gift." Sylvara's eyes darkened. "He will hunt me. My nano-tech. It's worth more than you can imagine." Lila's smirk faded. "Nano-tech? Like fancy robot blood?" "Shit, Jack. What did you step in this time?" Before Jack could answer, a soft beep echoed from a crate in the hold. He froze, instincts screaming. "Lila, you expecting company?" She shook her head, pulling a blaster from her hip. Jack motioned for Sylvara to stay back and crept toward the crate, dagger in hand. He pried it open, revealing a small, blinking device, sleek, black, and definitely not human-made. A tracking beacon, its signal pulsing like a heartbeat. "Son of a bitch," Jack muttered, yanking the device free. Its casing bore a faint Klythian rune, sharp and angular. "This is high-end. Varkis isn't working alone." Lila's face hardened. "Klythians? Those tentacle freaks don't play nice. If they're in on this, Marco's in deeper shit than I thought." Sylvara stepped forward, her veins flaring briefly. "We must destroy it. Now. Or they'll find us before we leave Starhaven." Jack crushed the beacon under his boot, but the damage was done. A low rumble shook the docking bay, and red warning lights flashed overhead. Varkis's goons were closing in. How the hell did they plant this thing? And who's pulling Varkis's strings? Jack Callahan's boots crunched over the shattered remains of the Klythian tracking beacon, its faint glow fading under the Iron Raven's cargo hold lights. The low rumble outside Bay 12 grew louder, vibrating through the docking platform like an angry beast. Red warning lights pulsed overhead, casting Starhaven's grimy metal walls in a bloody haze. Jack's heart pounded, his dagger still in hand, as he exchanged a look with Lila Torres. Her blaster was raised, her jaw set. Sylvara stood tense, her glowing blue veins flickering like a storm about to break. The beacon's Klythian rune burned. In Jack's mind, Varkis isn't just some scaly smuggler. He's got heavy hitters backing him. "Lila, how long till the Raven's ready to fly?" Jack asked, voice tight. 5 minutes if the engines don't crap out." Lila shot back, already sprinting toward the cockpit. "Get your asses to the bridge, now." Jack grabbed Sylvara's arm, pulling her toward the ship's inner corridor. "Move, we're sitting ducks here." Her plasma-green eyes met his, a mix of fear and resolve, and she nodded. They bolted. Through the Iron Raven's maze of pipes and patched bulkheads, the ship's hum rising as Lila fired up the thrusters. Jack's wristcom crackled with static. Then Lila's voice cut through. "Jack, we've got company, Zykarian mercs, 3 of them, armed to the teeth. Bay doors are locked too. Varkis ain't playing." Jack cursed, skidding to a halt at a terminal near the cargo ramp. He hacked into the beacon's fried circuits, pulling up its last transmission. The data was encrypted, but one word stood out. "Astra. Sylvara's people." He turned to her, his gut twisting. "This nano-tech, in your blood. What's it really do? Why's Varkis so desperate to keep you?" Sylvara's veins flared, casting eerie shadows. The Astra were warriors, but our nanotech was our true strength. It can amplify energy, reshape matter, or destroy entire fleets. The superweapon that killed Elythia. It was powered by blood like mine. Varkis wants to sell me to a Klythian warlord who's rebuilding that tech. Jack's blood ran cold. A weapon that could wipe out planets. No wonder Varkis had Klythian muscle. And if they get you, they won't just control me, Sylvara said, her voice steady but laced with dread. They'll harvest my blood, and others like me. Lila's voice blared over the comm. Less chit-chat, more action. Mercs are cutting through the bay doors. Jack snapped into gear, shoving the terminal aside. Sylvara, can you fight if it comes to it? She nodded, her hands clenching. Yes, but if I push the nanotech too far, it could overload. Great, Jack muttered. No pressure. He punched a code into his wristcom, sending a fake distress signal to Starhaven's security grid, claiming a reactor leak in Praxis system. It'd draw Varkis' attention long enough to buy them a window. Lila, get those doors open. We're not dying in this shithole. They reached the bridge just as the bay doors groaned, sparks flying from plasma torches outside. Lila was at the controls, her fingers dancing over the console. Distress signal's a nice touch, Callahan, but we've got 30 seconds before those mercs bust in. Jack gripped a railing as the Iron Raven lurched, its engines roaring. Sylvara braced beside him, her glow intensifying. Then, a deafening crash. 3 Zykarian mercs, their scales glinting like oil, smashed through the doors, wielding pulse rifles. Jack dove for cover, yanking Sylvara down as energy bolts scorched the deck. Sylvara's veins blazed, and she lunged, conjuring a shimmering nanoblade. She cut down one merc in a flash, but her glow flickered wildly, and she staggered, clutching her chest. Sylvara, Jack shouted, firing his dagger's built-in stun dart at another merc. The Iron Raven shook as Lila gunned the engines, but the third merc aimed at Sylvara's back. Can she hold it together? Or is her nanotech about to blow us all to hell? Jack Callahan's heart slammed against his ribs as pulse rifle blasts scorched the Iron Raven's bridge, the air thick with the acrid tang of burnt metal. The Zykarian merc, scales glinting like wet asphalt, aimed his weapon at Sylvara's back, its muzzle glowing, red hot. She was down, clutching her chest, her glowing blue veins flickering like a dying neon sign after slicing through one of Varkis' goons with her nanoblade. She's losing it, Jack thought, panic clawing at him. If her nanotech overloaded, they'd all be space dust. Move, Jack roared, lunging from cover. He tackled Sylvara behind a console, the mercs shot sizzling past, singeing his jacket. His stun dart had dropped the second Zykarian, but this last bastard was quick. Jack gripped his dagger, its blade humming with a low charge, and peeked over the console. The merc advanced, its reptilian eyes narrowing. Lila Torres hunched at the pilot's controls, shouted, "Jack, I need 30 seconds to override the bay locks. Keep that scaly freak off me." "On it," Jack yelled. His strength. He glanced at Sylvara, her breathing ragged but her eyes fierce. "You good?" She nodded, wincing as she forced herself up. "I can fight, but the nanotech, it's unstable." Her veins pulsed erratically, casting wild shadows across the bridge. "And don't go supernova on us," Jack said, flashing a grin to mask his fear. He grabbed a loose panel for cover and charged the merc, weaving through a hail of energy bolts. The Zykarian swung its rifle like a club, but Jack ducked, slicing its leg with his dagger. The merc hissed, stumbling, and Jack slammed the panel into its face, knocking it flat. "Stay down, asshole." Sylvara was back on her feet, her glow steadying. She raised a hand, conjuring a shimmering nano-shield that blocked a stray drone's laser from outside the bay. The shield flickered as she gritted her teeth, sweat beading on her steel-like skin. Jack's eyes caught hers, and in that split second, something passed between them. A spark, not just of survival, but of trust. Her shield held, but he felt her fear, raw and electric, like it was his own. "What the hell?" He shook it off, chalking it up to adrenaline. "Locks are down," Lila whooped, the Iron Raven lurching as bay doors groaned open. "Hang on." The ship jolted forward, but a new problem loomed. Starhaven's corridors outside were crawling with drones and mercs, and the Raven had to navigate a tight gauntlet to reach open space. Jack and Sylvara sprinted to a side hatch, where Leela had patched in a security feed. The screen showed a narrow maintenance tunnel leading to the main docks, but it was blocked by a cargo crate. And something else. There, Sylvara said, pointing at the feed. A small glowing figure huddled behind the crate, barely visible. A child, maybe 10, with faint blue veins like hers. An Elythian, one of my kind, she whispered, her voice breaking. Varkis must have taken them. Jack's got twisted. A kid in this hellhole? We can't leave him, he said, already moving. Lila, keep the ship steady. We're grabbing that kid. You're insane, Lila shouted. But she waved them off, her fingers flying over the controls. Go, but don't die. Jack and Sylvara raced into the tunnel, dodging sparks from damaged conduits. The child's glow pulsed faintly, a beacon in the chaos. But as they neared, a drone whirred to life, its laser locking onto them. Sylvara threw up another nano-shield, her body trembling with the effort. Jack's hand grazed hers, and that strange jolt hit again, her fear, her resolve, flooding his senses. Is this her nano-tech messing with me, or something else? The drone fired and the shield cracked. They had seconds to reach the kid before Varkis's forces closed in. Who is this Elythian child, and why is Varkis caging them like Sylvara? Jack Callahan's breath burned in his lungs as he and Sylvara crouched in the Starhaven maintenance tunnel, the drone's laser searing the air where her nano-shield had just cracked. Sparks rained from the tunnel's damaged conduits, and the faint glow of the Elythian child, huddled behind a cargo crate, pulsed like a beacon in the chaos. Sylvara's steel-like skin glistened with sweat, her glowing blue veins dimming as she struggled to hold the shield. That strange jolt Jack felt when their hands brushed lingered, her fear and resolve bleeding into him like static. What the hell is this connection? He shoved the thought aside. No time for mysteries. They had to save the kid. Sylvara, can you keep that drone off us? Jack asked, his voice low, dagger humming in his grip. She nodded, her plasma green eyes fierce. Despite the strain, I'll try. But my nanotech, it's draining me. Her shield flickered, barely holding against another laser blast. Jack's wristcom crackled. Jack, you idiot, still alive? Lila Torres's voice cut through, sharp over the irons. Raven's engine roar. I've got the ship ready, but this tunnel's a death trap. You grabbed that kid yet? Working on it, Jack shouted, ducking a shower of sparks. He locked eyes with Sylvara. Cover me. I'm going for the kid. She gritted her teeth, raising her trembling hands. The nano-shield flared brighter, deflecting the drone's next shot. Jack bolted forward, weaving through debris, his boots slipping on the slick metal floor. The child, maybe 10, was curled tight, their faint blue veins pulsing in sync with Sylvara's. Another Astra. Varkis, you sick bastard. Jack reached the crate, prying it open with a grunt. The kid flinched, their eyes, green like Sylvara's, wide with terror. Hey, it's okay, Jack said, softening his voice. I'm Jack. We're getting you out of here. What's your name? Kyle, the child whispered, voice barely audible. Are you with Varkis? Hell no, Jack said, offering a reassuring grin. We're the good guys. He scooped Kyle up, the kid's small frame trembling against his chest. A laser blast grazed the crate, and Jack dove back towards Sylvara. Kyle clutched tight. Sylvara's shield collapsed as they reached her, and she staggered, her glow fading. Kyle, she gasped, recognizing the child. He's my nephew. Varkis took him to study his nanotech, like mine. Her voice broke as she reached for Kyle, but another drone whirred to life, its laser locking on. Jack's comm buzzed again. Jack, we got mercs closing in, Leela snapped. Bringing that kid's gonna slow us down. Leave him, or we're all dead. No way, Jack growled, his jaw set. He looked at Sylvara, her eyes pleading, and Kale, clinging to him, like a lifeline. We don't leave kids behind. That's not who we are, Lila cursed. Fine, you bleeding heart, but move your ass, or the Raven's leaving without you. Sylvara touched Kale's shoulder, her veins flaring briefly. Kale, stay close. The boy nodded, but his own veins sparked, sending a tremor through the tunnel. Sylvara's eyes widened. His nano-tech, it's reacting to mine. I need to stabilize him, or he'll trigger an overload. Do it, Jack said, shielding them as the drone fired again. Sylvara pressed her hands to Kale's chest, her glow surging, knitting their nano-tech in a pulse of light. The tremor stopped, but Sylvara collapsed into Jack's arms, her body limp. He caught her, heart racing. Sylvara, stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. I felt you. Your strength. The astrolink. It's real. Her voice was a whisper, but it hit Jack like a shockwave. Link? What does that mean? The tunnel shook as Merc's footsteps echoed closer, and the Iron Raven's ramp was still 50 yards away. Lila's voice screamed through the calm. Bay sealed. Varkis locked us in. Jack hoisted Sylvara, Kyle at his side, and ran, drones closing in. What's this astrolink? And how do we escape a locked-down bay with Varkis's army on our tail? Jack Callahan's arms burned as he half-carried Sylvara through the Starhaven maintenance tunnel, her limp form heavy against him, her glowing blue veins barely flickering. Kyle, the Elythian kid, clung to his side, his small frame trembling, but his green eyes sharp with determination. The tunnel's walls shook, sparks flying from severed conduits as Varkis's drones buzzed closer, their lasers painting the air red. Lila's voice crackled through Jack's wristcom, frantic over the Iron Raven's engine hum. Jack, the bay's locked tight. We're trapped unless you pull a miracle. The ramp to the ship was just 50 yards ahead, but with mercs and drones closing in, it might as well have been a light year. Keep the Raven hot, Lila, Jack shouted, his voice hoarse. He propped Sylvara against a wall, her breathing shallow but steady. You with me? He asked, cupping her face. Her plasma-green eyes fluttered open, weak but defiant. I'm here, she whispered, pushing herself upright. Kyle, we can't let Varkis take him. No one's taking anybody, Jack growled, checking his dagger's charge. He glanced at Kale, who clutched Sylvara's hand, their veins pulsing in sync. That astrolink she mentioned, whatever it was, had saved the kid. But it nearly killed her. What else can it do? A metallic clank echoed from a side passage and Jack spun. Dagger raised. A figure stumbled out. Not a merc, but a Klythian. 7 feet of writhing tentacles, one arm mangled, its eye stalks drooping. It wore a tattered tech harness, tools dangling like medals. Don't shoot, it rasped, its voice a wet gurgle through a translator. I'm not with Varkis. Jack kept his blade up, skeptical. Bullshit, you're Klythian. Varkis has your kind on payroll. The alien raised its good tentacles, a gesture of surrender. I'm Zorak. I was Varkis's engineer, forced to work. I sabotaged his drones, tried to escape. He locked me here. Zorak gestured to a sealed crate nearby, its locks scorched. I know the bay's override codes. Let me help, and I'm on your ship out of this hell. Sylvara's eyes narrowed, but Kyle tugged her sleeve. He's not lying, the boy said, his voice small but certain. I saw him fight Varkis's guards. Jack hesitated, his guts screaming trap, but time was bleeding out. Fine, Zorak. Get us those codes, but one wrong move, and you're calamari. He nodded to Sylvara. Can you walk? She nodded, leaning on Kyle. Let's go. Zorak led them through a hidden duct, its tentacles deftly prying open panels. The tunnel opened into a control hub, its consoles blinking with Starhaven's security feeds. Zorak plugged into a terminal, his tentacles dancing over the keys. Override in progress, 10 seconds. But the hum of a drone grew louder, and a massive combat model, twice the size of the others, crashed through a vent, its laser cannons whirring. Jack shoved Kale behind a console, Sylvara conjuring a nanoblade despite her weakness. Stay back, she hissed, slashing at the drone. The blade sparked against its armor, but her glow wavered, her knees buckling. Jack fired his dagger's stun dart, but it bounced off. Zorak, hurry the hell up, he yelled, grabbing a pipe to swing at the drone. Zorak's tentacles froze, then yanked a cable free. The bay doors groaned open on the feed, but the drone fired, its laser grazing Zorak's side. The Klythian roared, collapsing, but not before shoving Kale out of the beam's path. Codes, sent, Zorak gasped, his eye stalks dimming. The Iron Raven's ramp was clear, but mercs poured into the hub, pulse rifles blazing. Jack hoisted Zorak's wounded form, Sylvara and Kale sprinting beside him. The drone powered up for another shot, and the Raven's engines screamed, ready to bolt. Is Zorak really on our side, or did he just lead us into a bigger trap? Jack Callahan's boots pounded the metal floor of Starhaven's control hub, his arms straining under Zorak's wounded Klythian bulk, while Sylvara and Kale sprinted beside him. The Iron Raven's ramp loomed ahead, its engines roaring like a caged beast, but Varkis's mercs flooded the hub, their pulse rifles spitting blue fire. A massive combat drone hovered above, its laser cannons glowing red-hot, ready to turn them to ash. Lila's voice crackled through Jack's wristcom, sharp with panic. "Jack, get your ass on this ship. We got seconds before Varkis's whole damn army shows up." Jack's lungs burned, but he didn't slow, shoving Zorak towards Sylvara. "Get him on board," he shouted, spinning to face the mercs. His dagger hummed, its stun dart spent, but he wasn't going down without a fight. Sylvara hesitated, her plasma-green eyes locked on him, her glowing veins flickering from exhaustion. "Jack, we need you. Go," he barked, diving behind a console as a pulse blast scorched the air. Sylvara grabbed Kale and Zorak, sprinting for the ramp. Jack's heart hammered, but a grim smile tugged at his lips. "If I'm going out, I'm taking these bastards with me." The hub doors exploded inward, and Varkis himself strode through, his four scaly arms gleaming under neon lights. His Zykarian scale shimmered green, and a sleek plasma cannon hung from one hand, its barrel glowing. "Callahan," he hissed, his voice dripping venom. "You dare steal my prize? The Elythians are mine, to sell, to break, to harvest. Their nano-tech will make me a god." Jack peeked over the console, his blood boiling. "You're no god, Varkis, just a slimy punk with a big mouth." He glanced at the Raven. Sylvara was at the ramp. Kale safe. Zorak slumped inside. Time to end this. Before Jack could move, Sylvara stepped back into the fray, her veins blazing like a supernova. "Varkis," she roared, conjuring a nanoblade that crackled with raw energy. "You'll never touch my people again." She charged, slicing through a merc with terrifying precision, but her glow pulsed erratically, her body shaking. The drone fired, and she threw up a nano-shield, deflecting the blast, but staggering under the strain. "Sylvara, don't!" Jack yelled, bolting toward her. He tackled a merc, slamming his dagger into its armor, then fired a scavenge pulse pistol at the drone. The shot sparked off its hull, useless. Varkis laughed, raising his cannon, but Sylvara was faster. She lunged, her nanoblade grazing his arm, forcing him back. Her glow surged, and a shockwave of blue energy erupted, flattening the mercs and disabling the drone in a deafening crackle. The hub's lights flickered, console sparking, but Sylvara collapsed, her veins dimming to a faint pulse. Jack caught her, his heart in his throat. "You crazy, badass warrior," he muttered, cradling her. Varkis, scorched but alive, snarled, aiming his cannon. Jack braced, but Lila's voice boomed from the Raven's external speakers. "Eat this, lizard face." The ship's turret swiveled, unleashing a barrage of plasma bolts that shredded Varkis's cover. A Klythian warship loomed outside the bay, its cannons priming. But Lila gunned the Raven's engines, blasting through the open doors. Jack dragged Sylvara aboard, Kale pulling Zorak's arm. As the ramp sealed, Sylvara grabbed Jack's hand, her glow stabilizing. "Varkis, he's not done," she rasped. "His bio wants my blood for the superweapon." She pressed her palm to a console, uploading a nanovirus into Starhaven's network, her veins flaring. "This'll cripple his systems. He'll think twice before chasing us." Varkis's roar echoed as the Raven shot into space, dodging the Klythian ship's fire. Lila whooped from the cockpit. "That's what I call a getaway. Varkis looks like he got hit by a space bus." Jack slumped against a bulkhead, Sylvara beside him. Kale curled close. Zorak groaned, alive but battered. The Raven jumped to hyperspace, Starhaven shrinking to a speck. Jack looked at Sylvara, her face soft but fierce. "You saved us," he said, voice low. "That virus, you're a damn genius." She smiled faintly. "You gave me a reason to fight, Jack." Their hands stayed linked, that astralink humming between them. warm and alive. But as the Raven soared, a faint signal pinged from the console. A Klythian code buried in Varkis's network. Did Sylvara's virus really stop him, or is he already planning his next move? The Iron Raven hummed through hyperspace, its patched hull a speck against the endless void, Starhaven's neon chaos now a distant memory. Jack Callahan slumped in a worn chair on the ship's bridge, his leather jacket scorched, his dagger finely sheathed. The adrenaline of their escape still buzzed in his veins, but a quiet warmth settled over him as he watched Sylvara across the cramped cabin. She sat with Kale, the Elythian boy curled against her, his faint blue veins pulsing softly in sleep. Her own glow was steady now, her plasma green eyes soft but fierce as she murmured to him in a language Jack couldn't understand. She's a warrior, a genius and a damn aunt, he thought, a grin tugging at his lips. Lila Torres spun in the pilot's chair, her cap tipped back, a rare smile breaking her tough girl's scowl. Well, Callahan, we didn't die. That's a first. She nodded to Zorak, the wounded Klythian engineer, who was propped against a bulkhead, tentacles bandaged but moving. Even Squidward pulled through. You owe me a beer, a human one. Not that Zykarian piss, Jack chuckled, rubbing his neck. Added to my tab, Torres. He glanced at the console, where Sylvara's nanovirus had fried Varkis's network, buying them time. But that faint Klythian signal they picked up gnawed at him. Varkis isn't the type to quit. Sylvara looked up, catching his gaze. She eased Kyle onto a blanket and crossed to Jack, her steps steady despite the hell they'd been through. Kale's safe, she said, voice low. He's my nephew, the last of my bloodline. Varkis wanted his nano-tech too, but we stopped him. Her fingers brushed Jack's hand, and that astrolink hummed again, a warm electric pulse that carried her gratitude, her strength and something deeper. You made this possible, Jack. His heart skipped, caught off guard by the intensity of her touch. Hell, Sylvara, you're the one who went all Jedi back there. I just tried not to get fried. He paused, his voice softening. This link thing. I felt you. Your fear, your fight. What is it? She smiled, a rare, unguarded expression. The astrolink is rare, even among my people. It binds souls, lets us share emotions, strength. I never thought it could happen with a human. Her eyes held his, steady and warm. You're part of me now, Jack. And I'm staying with you, to protect Kale, to keep my nanotech from monsters like Varkis. Jack's throat tightened. He wasn't one for sappy moments, but her words hit like a shot of good whiskey. Guess we're a team then, he said, squeezing her hand. You, me, Kale, and this circus. He nodded to Leland Zorak, who was tinkering with a busted console, muttering in Klythian. Lila's comm pinged, and her smile vanished. She pulled up the encrypted message, her face hardening. It's about Marco, she said, voice tight. A faint signal from Praxis system. He's alive, Jack, caught in some trafficking ring. Varkis's name's all over it. Jack's jaw clenched. Then we're going after him. No one gets left behind. Zorak looked up, his eye stalks twitching. I owe you my life. I'll stay, fix the Raven. Varkis's tech. I know its weaknesses. His voice was firm, a far cry from the desperate fugitive they'd found. Sylvara nodded, her glow brightening. We'll head to Omega Station, seek asylum for Kale and me, but I'll fight with you, for Marco, for others like us. Her hand stayed in Jack's, the astrolink a quiet promise. Loila plotted a course for Omega Station, the Raven's engines humming steady. Jack leaned back, pulling a battered music player from his pocket. He hit play, and Metallica's Enter Sandman filled the bridge, low and gritty. All right, crew, he said, grinning. Ready for round two? They laughed, even Zorak's tentacles twitching in what might have been amusement. But as the music played, the console pinged again, a second signal buried in the first. Worse was Klythian, coded with a symbol Jack didn't recognize, sent from Starhaven's ruins. Varkis's voice hissed through static. You can't run forever, Callahan. The signal caught, leaving silence. Jack's grin faded, his hand tightening. On Sylvara's. What's Varkis planning, and who's the new player pulling his strings?